Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech
Nigga, nigga, nigga. Are there any niggas? I know the one nigga that works here.
or of the press,
Good evening from ABC News
or
headquarters.
the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
I'm free to think and to speak. My ancestors couldn't. I can.
Can you break a nigger? Is it okay?
And all I could think of was shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
Homosexuality is shameful.
Intifada NYC.
Kiss my ass.
Protesters say they're speaking out against discrimination by not speaking at all.
It was a school-wide event, the Day of Silence. And the point of that day was to say that sexual freedom is great. And obviously, that's what the school was putting forth, because there was no, day of marriage or something like that at all, ever. The story really starts the night before. I was reading a portion of scripture when Paul's talking about the need for the church leaders not to hide the truth. Because if that gospel, if that truth was veiled or hidden, it was hidden to those who are perishing, to those who are hurting, to those who are being damaged by their deviant sexuality. And those words, really pierced my heart. And so just then and there, I got out one of my shirts. It wasn't anything special. It's just a black Ezekiel shirt, and I put some masking tape on it and took some Sharpie and penned the words I wrote. Be ashamed. Our school has embraced what God has condemned. And on the back, an excerpt from Romans 1:27 that says homosexuality is shameful. Just to put the truth out there. I'll take some crap for a couple days for the truth to be in this conversation. The school opened up the conversation, and it's supposed to be a marketplace for ideas. So I decided just to put it out there. And I had no idea that I would be suspended, threatened with expulsion, and questioned by an armed sheriff. That's just not what I thought the day had in store for me. My teachers saw the shirt and basically said, hey, you can't have that. You either need to remove the tape from the shirt or you can go talk to one of the administrators. And I asked him why, and he said, you just either need to go to the office or take the tape off.
So the teacher's first thought was, this is disrupting the teaching process that I'm engaged in. I need to remove the T-shirt. Then she thought about it for a moment and concluded that it went farther than just disruption, that it actually violated the rights of others.
What marginalizes me, especially that type of language, due to the fact that you're telling me my lifestyle and who I am as a person is inferior to yours.
And they said, look, Chase, you just can't wear this here. You can't do that. You can't, retain your rights of free speech in this way. It's offensive. Since when has speech that is merely offensive been censored on that basis alone?
At the end of the day, when you look at it as a culture, especially with the gay youth culture, you look at the suicide rate. And that really says it all. When you've got such a high suicide rate with gay teens in America today, obviously they are feeling marginalized and they are feeling like they're less than. And little acts like that can add to a bigger whole.
Political correctness is definitely infringing upon the free speech rights of many individuals throughout society.
The most impactful moment of that whole day is when I went to talk with the vice principal. He called me into his office and he sat me down and he stared across the table and started talking to me. And about halfway through the conversation, he looked me in the eyes and said, if your faith is offensive, you have to leave it in the car. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. If my faith was offensive, are we in the United States?
And incidentally, nobody ever complained about Chase's T-shirt. No student. They haven't been able to introduce any evidence that indicated that a student was even offended by his T-shirt. But nevertheless, the school censored it.
Where does all that hatred start? It can start from the most basic of areas. such as a t-shirt.
He was wearing an extremely confrontational, very ugly t-shirt. I think schools can regulate that time and place and manner to a much greater extent than government can the citizenry.
This is the kind of case that the student has to win, because if not, then free speech is really worth nothing in America's high schools.
The classic case that established this precedent is Tinker versus Des Moines, where Mary Beth Tinker wore an armband into school to protest the war in Vietnam. The court held that she has a right to express her political views, and that right is only limited by disruption of the educational process.
Students have free speech rights. Free speech rights of students are constantly being circumscribed.
I mean, these are just kids. What do they have to contribute to the marketplace and ideas and opinions?
Today, a U.S. judge agreed, ruling that the district's policy against hate speech is within the law.
To this day, Poway High School will not allow speech on their campus that they feel like is offensive to students.
One of the bummers for some people about protecting free speech and the marketplace of ideas is that people get offended, and that's the price of liberty. We don't have the right to not be offended.
For your information, the Supreme Court has roundly rejected prior restraint.
This is not a First Amendment thing, man.
If you don't calm down, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Lady, I got buddies who died face down in the muck so that you and I can enjoy this family restaurant.
All right, I'm out of here.
Hey, dude, don't go away, man. Come on, this affects all of us, man.